Hello and welcome to Front Row Racing. It's time for the World Series Round 9 at Silverstone. Well, I say it's time. We've got about 4 minutes until we send the drivers off to the racetrack. I'm Front Row Racing DP, otherwise known as Dave Lays in Beds. I'll be doing commentary this evening, and I will be joined by the World Series race highlights producer, Tony Oinonen, otherwise known as, because we called him this, Tony Pinkham Oinonen, when he commentated for us at Monaco. So how are you this evening, Tony?
Oh, I'm great. It's fun to be back, and I love that name, by the way.
I'm glad you do, and it's good to have you back with us as well. I mean, obviously, with you doing the World Series highlights, it does help if on occasion you get to watch the drivers on the racetrack. Now, also joining us in the pit lane is Front Row Racing RI. Had a bit of an issue this week with the internet, with some scroats kicking in the green box that houses the internet cabling. So how are you this evening, Ray?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Am I helping to try and say that name?
I tell you what, Ray, you know what? I had an idea last night, and I think you'll like it. I think it's time that we change your name on here, you know? I don't think you should be known as Ray Charles Brooks anymore. I don't think it suits you. I think from now on we should call you Ray Eddie Jordan.
Nah.
No.
That's close.
Well, oh, actually, that's a good
plan. Sorry.
That is true. That is true. You could play with some airbags if you're Ray Charles Brooks. I'll leave that one up to yourself then. Okay, we've got a few minutes, as I said, until we send the drivers off to the racetrack. Quickly go through the drivers on the screen at the moment. For Killer Acorn Mercedes, we've got Acorn 95 and Dave the Harp. In Underdog Racing Red Bull, we have Ant69. In Victoria's Secret Williams Racing, we have Hybrid Nuke and Hindle, the current standings leader. Midlands Madness Ferrari, we've got Front Row Racing GP and K-Slay. And in McCharles McLaren Honda, we have Rickster and Charlie. Nobody in the Force Indias. Me and Tony are in the Toro Rossos. Nobody in the Lotus. And in the Godolphin Sauber, we have Andy Russell and Richie Davey. In the Mana Marushas, we have It's Hammer Time, and it's a reserve drive, and Farthba. But It's Hammer Time does have a qualifying ban for this event. He did cause a little bit of a collision at Turn 1 in Austria, and you know what? He dealt with it very, very well. He held his hands up, says, I think I made a bit of a mistake there. If a penalty comes my way, I will fully accept it, which was quite nice, really. It's quite unusual from drivers to get that kind of response. Okay, quick look at a recap of last week's result. I mean, okay, I can look at it, but for the folks at home, you won't be able to see it. But if you've seen it on Facebook, you will have noticed, although I'll tell you what, it will help if I actually bring up the right race results on my computer. Apologies about this. You'll have to bear with me a moment, folks, because I don't really want to be giving you the Melbourne race results, do I? It'd be of absolute no use whatsoever. I know Steve was going on about calling himself Murray yesterday. I think it's my turn from today. Okay, last race was at Austria. So I'll make sure I've got those standings up. So just bear with me a second, folks. Okay, what time have we got? Is it ready? Are we ready to send the drivers over to the racetrack yet, guys? It's past. Okay, we can click ready. We'll send them over to the racetrack, to Silverstone, where, strangely enough, I do know that quite a few of the drivers are possibly hoping for a little bit of rain. Okay, a little bit of a recap then on last week's result. Quite a few penalties handed out from the last event, mainly for pit entries at Austria. It can be a bit of a tricky one, but the way the result went, it meant that It's Hammer Time in as a reserve in the Killer Acorn Mercedes, took victory in Austria, with Casely and Midlands Madness Ferrari finishing second. Hindle was demoted to third, Hybrid Nuke down to fourth, Ferrari Racing GP fifth, Azamor in as a reserve in sixth, Rickster seventh, Ant eighth, Adam 4600 ninth, Charlie 10th, Dave the Harp 11th, and then Andy Russell Farfber did not finish, and Richie Davies qualification for no race footage. And it's beautifully sunny here at the racetrack. So, Tony, are you pleased about that one or disappointed?
Well, in my forecast it says it can be raining, so I'm hoping for that because it's fun.
It's
Racing in rain.
It's one of those things where, as a driver, most of the time, you don't want the rain, but as a viewer, you want the rain. Now, before we came to Silverstone for the event here, myself and Tony, we did have a chat with a few of the drivers to get some of their pre-race comments. And I tell you what, Acorn 95, he's making his way out on track. So I'll let you know what he had to say when I caught up with him earlier on. Or at least I would if I could find my notes. I can now. Acorn 95, it was quite simple. I should have been avoid the barrier on the exit of the pit lane, but it's quite simple, trying to kickstart my season. Now for Acorn, he had a fantastic start to the season. Looked like he was going to take plenty of race wins, and then, I don't know, maybe he just found the White Cliffs of Dover and couldn't get past them, because he's had a bit of a disappointing season since the opening couple of rounds. So for Acorn 95, time for him to really get back up near the front of the front of the grid in qualifying and try and fight for some race victories. Now, while the drivers are doing their outlaps, Ray, I believe you had a quick look at what the lap times were in the World Series last season. If you could let us know what the qualifying and race lap times were.
Yeah, well, I had a technical advisor that done that for me. Qualifying was 131.9 and the dry wet conditions by Rickster, and the race was a 133.5 by Hindle and the dry.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, last season's qualifying went from a dry session into a wet one, so perhaps optimal times not found. This session here could go from dry to wet, so we will have to keep an eye on some of the sky. Now I can see that a Sauber is crossing the line first. That's Richie Davey. I tell you what, Tony, while we're watching Richie go out on his lap, would you like to let the viewers know what Richie had to say when we had a quick chat with him earlier on today?
Yes, he's hoping for rain, and he wishes to outscore McLaren, so I hope that at least the rain comes, so he will be partially happy.
Partially happy. It's interesting that he's mentioned McLaren, because in the drivers' standings there is only 15 points between them. Charles McLaren Honda have 75 and Godolphin have 60, so the Saubers, they both need to try and outscore the McLarens, but we do know that Rickster can be quite quick. He did get pole position here last season, so Rickster could be one to keep an eye on. But Richie Davey, he's had his lap time invalidated here, so he's going to have to continue on for another lap. And as we talk about Rickster, he's gone through sector 1 already, and what did Rickster have to say, Tony?
Rickster, he wants to start bringing home some points and clean race. Clean race is what he wants.
It's what he needs as well, but I think he has also had this particular lap time invalidated with the new stricter FIA rules. It can be a little tricky for the drivers. I've just remembered I've done something a little bit naughty, so I'll do it now. I have been asked by the FRR admins to just give out a little bit of an announcement to the drivers and to the viewers, and that is to please conduct yourselves in a proper manner on social media, whether that be talking about races, talking on the live streams. Keep the chat to Well, let's put it this way. If my mother was monitoring it, she'd be saying, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, because if you say something not nice, I'm going to smack you around the head with my handbag. And you know what? She would as well. Okay, Rigster's continued on for another lap. Now, I haven't really mentioned
a brick in that handbag.
a brick. There's probably a pair of snooker balls. I don't know why I said snooker balls there.
You like the balls?
No, she does. It's my brother, I'm allowed to say that. Sorry, Steve. Okay, lap times around here. I think we could be looking at potentially into the 130s. Rigster's done a 28.4 sector 1, which isn't too bad. He's come round the old first corner, he's making his way into Maggotts and Beckett's. This is where he was invalidated before. Let's see if he can get through a bit cleaner. He's taking it a little more cautiously, as he knows he needs to. Get that banker lap in quite nicely through there. Sector 2. So 38.4 is not bad, but could do with gaining about half a second in each of those sectors. But this is now a banker lap. Get a lap on the board. Around Stowe, tricky off Camber corner, but a very, very quick one. Into the final chicane. There's still another corner to go after it. One corner to go. It's been looking like a fairly decent lap, but I've got a feeling it's going to be high 31s. It is. It's a 31.9. That puts him in second place. And Hindle at the moment, he's on pole and he is in the garage. So we will have to keep an eye out for Hindle on track. And also his teammate Hybrid Nuke, who is on a flying lap at the moment, on prime tyres as well. Now, Hybrid Nuke, when we caught up with him earlier today, I was quite surprised with what he had to say, because he said Silverstone is the worst track on the list for me. I've just never really liked it. If I focus, I'll be fine on penalties, but keep making careless mistakes. Hindle, I feel, has the slight edge, but can he keep it clean? So I don't know if that's a little bit of a dig from teammate to teammate, but perhaps through their practice sessions, Hybrid Nuke has spotted that Hindle has struggled on occasion. So let's see what Hybrid Nuke can do on his prime tyre then as he makes his way through Stowe Corner. I must admit, I do like this particular corner. I tell you what, Tony, is there a corner on this track that you don't like?
Well, was it the right, left, right, the fast bit is, I don't like it. It's hard for me.
Maggotts and Beckett's, it can be a very tricky set of corners. But Hybrid Nuke has gone 6th place at the moment on his prime set of tyres, excuse me. Let's go and see who else we've got out on track at the moment. Ant69. Oh, Rigster, I do apologise, we've just missed him, but he's gone and popped in a pole position time of 131.129, but I think that could get beaten. Hindle, he's just leaving the pits now, so we'll come to him in a few moments' time. Charlie, let's see how Charlie's getting on. He's part way through his lap. He's gone through Sector 1 already with a 30.7. Looks like his car's jumping about. Charlie, if you're watching the live stream, turn it off, fella. It'll help with your good old connectivity. But down the Hanger Straight he's going. And when I caught up with Charlie earlier today, he just put his fingers in his ears and didn't say a word. It was like the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. So Charlie not wanting to talk to me today. I'm sorry, Charlie, if I've upset you. Well, let's hope you have a good race here today. Who else we've got out on track? Ant69. Ant69, he's gone through Sector 1 with a 30.8. I know that he feels he's not quite on the pace here today. But when you caught up with Ant earlier, Tony, what did he have to say to you?
He's going for attactive tactics, so he may be going for the pits very early.
I kind of like that. He's going to go attackive, but he may end up in the pits quite early on. It's an interesting attitude for him to have there. I know recently he's decided to try and start the race towards the back of the grid, but I've got a feeling that that's not going to be his tactic here as he's made his way into the pits. Okay, Hindle. Hindle's on an out lap. He's just about to set himself up for a flying lap, and it could be a quick one. And when I caught up with Hindle earlier today, let's see. They must be old notes. Okay, here we go. Losing a win because of a pit lane penalty is a bitter pill to swallow. Not had much practice, but if I can hit the times I've been doing in practice, I should be on pole. Race pace still the focus until the next race. Interesting comments there. It's still focusing on the race pace until the next race, which is Hungary, where that is kind of you need to qualify high up the order, but Hindle should be able to do that anyway. So let's see how he gets on through Brooklands corner. A tricky sort of double apex corner this, but you only want to apex one of them. Now into Lovefield. Looks like he's taking it very sort of cautiously, but he has done a 28.1 sector 1, which is fairly good. That's on target for doing a 1:30 lap time. All depends on how he gets on through sector 2. So round Cops. Nicely through there, carries the speed. Now Maggots and Beckett's. Hold your breath, clench your arse and turn it in. Quite nicely through the first part, but a lot of it is all about the exit. Get on that power. DRS approaching, sector approaching. It's a 38.0, still on target for a 30.0. Stowe corner using quite a lot of the curb on the left to get as better entry as he can do. Hold the car through the corner. Now the final 3 corners, and this is the part of the track that I really don't like. This particular chicane, not a big fan of it. So around the final corner he's going to go, and I do think it will be a 30. No, it's only a 31.2, but he may continue on for another lap. Now we have got a few drivers that have not gone out on track yet. Adam 4600, he's not made his way out onto circuit. Front Row Racing GP is on an out lap, and actually no, he's on a timed lap. And I tell you what, Tony, what did Front Row Racing GP have to say when we had a word with him earlier on today?
That's something funny. Well, he's playing with us there.
he is playing with us there. I said I was going to stitch you up a bit. Yeah, I said I was going to stitch you up a bit, and that was it. For anyone that doesn't know, when I was doing World Series commentary last season with Front Row Racing GP, he's the guy that used to show me really disgusting pictures, and he's kind of continuing it on, but in a slightly different way. In that we spoke to him and says, okay, what's your pre-race comments? And this is what we got in response. The 6th Sheik, 6th Sheep 6, so Sheik's 6th gear in 6th corner Silverstone. And apparently, you know what? The first part of that is from one of the world's Guinness Book of Records, world's toughest tongue twister, which I've had to say about 8 times to actually try and get it out as well as I just did then. It did also add, though, translated, that means I'm screwed this week, worried about quali pace, confident about race pace. He's done a 28.2 sector 1 time, though, which isn't too bad. 38.3 sector 2. Could do with a decent sector 3, but I do know in practice just before the session he was struggling for a little bit of qualifying pace, so I don't think he'll be overly concerned about where he does qualify. It's all going to be about the race, and for the last few weeks he has been involved in a few collisions on the opening laps, which has cost him a lot of time. Round the final corner then, it could be a good time this. It's only a 31.9. That's 3rd place. Who else have we got? Hindle. He's gone and bloody continued on for another lap and taken pole position. Bloody typical of you, Hindle. Let's see. Dave the Harp. I think we've not watched him yet. He's been through sector 1, coming through Maggots and Beckett's, but looking a little bit wide and slow. Could be on a bit of an in-lap. So what did... seeing as I stitched you up a bit with for a Racing GP's comments, why don't you tell us what Dave the Harp had to say?
He's hoping for better luck this race and be my usual clean self.
Are you not going to add on the bit that I added on then? He's had a shower then. Okay, Dave the Harp has gone back into the pits. Acorn 95 has retired from the session. Hybrid Nuke, he's only down in 8th place at the moment. Ray, sounds like you've got a bit of information for us.
Yeah, Paul's just on a flying lap, so just to let you know.
Okay, we'll go and see where Paul is. I don't think he's actually set a time yet. He hasn't. His times so far have been invalidated. He's coming into the final few corners. 28.5 sector 1, 38.6 sector 2. Could be about 5th or 6th place as he goes around the final corner. It is 5th place with a 32.6. Let's get back to Hybrid Nuke and see how he's getting on as he's heading up the old hangar straight. Is there anyone that you've got your eye on there, Tony, that looks like they're putting in any decent sectors at the moment?
Well, I'm looking at the gap between our pole position and second one. It's not it's not big.
It's not very big at all. Hybrid Nuke's only gone 3rd with a 1:31.3. Looks like he's continuing on for another lap, so we'll see how he gets on through Sector 1. Adam 4600's qualifying session is over, and I tell you what, it looks like there's a few more clouds appearing, and that is quite a big grey one we can see, well, 2 big grey ones we can see just ahead of us. I think Hybrid Nuke, he may have just abandoned this lap. I think he's just had a bit of a mare, but there's the big cloud we can see. If that cloud comes over, I think we might be safe for qualifying, but for the race it could have an effect. Now, Tony mentioned there's not much of a gap between pole position and second place at the moment, and there isn't. It's only 0.019 of a second. Rickster is on another flying lap as well. Sector 1 of a 28.1. That's an improvement on his own personal best as Farfba now retires from the qualifying session. Something the drivers have to kind of bear in mind at the moment is that if the clouds are coming over, the track temperatures are going to drop, so it could affect what kind of lap time they're able to get in now. But Rickster needs to really be confident on this lap as he throws the car into Copse Corner beautifully through there. If he can do Magnussen Beckett similar, he could be up on his own time. And if he's up on his own time, it's potential pole position. But Tony, if you just want to keep an eye on Hindle or perhaps Hybrid Nuke to see if they look like they are improving, it's a 38.0 sector 2 for Rickster. That's fairly damn good. All about the final sector and the final few corners. How's he going to get on through the final chicane? A little bit tentative on the way in, throwing it through, using all of his rev range a little bit sideways. He knows the pressure's on. It's a 31.1 and he's stolen pole position off Hindle. Hindle's about to start a flying lap.
He stole it by 2 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, you thought it was close before, it's even closer now. So let's see how we're only going to be able to watch him for a minute of his lap. He'll have seen that he's been dropped down to second place, so he needs to find a little bit of time somewhere. But I mean, for Hindle, I mean, this is something to think about, Tony. For Hindle, he said, I've been concentrating on race pace. Well, if he's been concentrating on race pace and he can still get pole position, that's something for the rest of the drivers to possibly fear.
Yes, that's true, but there is gonna be rain in a 5-10 minutes and thunder in 20, so could it be raining?
Hindle, he's abandoned his lap, and I think I could be wrong, I could also be right, but as you said that, Tony, I think I've just seen a couple of spits and spots of rain. So yeah, might be Casely. We've missed it. He's gone and stole pole position. We didn't get to see it. So apologies there, Casely. I didn't get to see. He's going to a 1:30.9. The first of the drivers to do it. Rickster, is he still on track? No, Rickster's back in the pits, so he can't do anything about it. Dave the Harp's on his way into the pits. Charlie, he's still on a lap, but I don't know if he's going to be able to improve on the qualifying lap time there. Currently sat in 7th place, but Casely just sort of came out of nowhere and stole the show a bit. Didn't want none of this 2 thousandths of a second gap. I think he's gone and stole a couple of tenths. And that was tenths, not tents. Although around Silverstone there are plenty of tents full of drunk people. And probably a few sober ones as well, but I doubt that very much. and I think it looks like Charlie's lap may be over. Andy Russell, he's coming in 13th place, coming round the final corners, and Andy didn't want to talk to us in the press briefing earlier either, so disappointing to not hear from him, but he's moved himself up to 12th place, and that is the qualifying session over, I believe. I think Casely may be a little bit surprised there. I mean, we didn't even talk about it. We didn't even get to comment on what he said to us. So, Tony, why don't you let us know what Casely said?
He's hoping for the rain as well. Could get a podium depending on tyre wear, so I think he was right.
I think he was right. I tell you what, though, he's just going to stole pole position, and really, he may now be sat there thinking, you know what, I wouldn't mind it staying dry because I'm pretty quick at the moment. But I also think Hindle might be a little bit disappointed. He was down in his sector 1 on his last attempt of a lap, and then abandoned the lap with a bit of I think it was an invalidated up at Brooklands, so a bit disappointing for him. But here we go then. Casely, pole position by 0.2 of a second to Rickster. Hindle in third with only 0.02 of a second between second and third. Hybrid Nuke got himself up to fourth. From a Racing GP fifth, Dave the Harp sixth, Charlie seventh, Farfbers in eighth, Acorns in ninth, Ant69 in 10th, Richie Davey only managed to get 11th place, Andy Russell 12th, Adam 4600 didn't set a lap time. Yes, he did, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong person. Adam 4600 13th, and then it's Hammer Time who starts at the back of the grid. Any additional information for us, Ray, from the pit lane, from the engineers?
Adam 4,600 or whatever you want to say. Mr. Adam, he's saying if he doesn't lose his wing, he can do okay here, but it's home race to a lot of the guys, so we'll see how he gets on.
We definitely will. Okay, it's time then for the Front Row Racing World Series Round 9 at Silverstone. Let's head over to the racetrack. The engineers will be making their final preparations. The VIPs will be being shifted off the grid, and hopefully a few of them to my caravan, although I should have said trailer. It sounds a bit more fancy. Yeah, I wouldn't mind finding a few of them in there, as long as it's not Eddie Jordan and David Coulthard, and it's more yeah, you know what I mean. Rachel Brooks wouldn't be bad. Anyway, it looks like it's beautiful sunny weather, so for the drivers, no concerns about rain yet. I think that could change. Tony, I think you may need to, at the start of the race, just move towards the pit wall a little bit to let It's Hammer Time past you. But you've got 15 seconds to give us a prediction of what you think's going to happen here.
Well, this time I don't think it's gonna rain, so it's gonna be tight racing, and you can't predict who is gonna win.
I would have to agree with you. Okay, we've got 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. They're going to go out, and away they go as they make their way now down to turn 1, where hopefully we won't see any major drama, and I won't press the wrong button. I thought I was going to quit there, so apologies. Oh, we have got collisions. Ant69, he's in the gravel by the looks of things. Hindle, he's out in front, so he's managed to jump ahead of Casely, who's in second place. Hybrid Nuke's up to third. Dave the Harp's up to fourth, and From a Racing GP is in fifth. But it looked like there was quite a bit of carnage through the first couple of corners there. Either that or it could just be visual effect. But Hindle is leading the race, and for him, he won't mind having jumped Casely and getting out in front. But Casely, he's now in a Williams sandwich that he won't really want to be in. But he does know that tyre wear can be absolutely awful around here. Rickster, he was in third place, he's down in 10th, so no, he's in 8th, sorry. I think something's happened to a few drivers at Luffield.
Yeah, Charlie has collision. Yeah.
Okay, so Charlie in a collision
Ray,
then.
Ray, can you tell me who was the other party of
Front Row
collision?
Racing GP.
Okay, Andy Russell has got a bit of wing missing as well, or his whole front wing missing, and I think Richie Davey has as well. Yes, Richie Davey's got half his wing missing as a few drivers have to avoid him through Maggots and Beckett's. So we've got Charlie that's down to 10th now then, from a Racing GP, who's down to 11th. He was up in 5th place, but not anymore, with both Saubers probably having to make early pit stops for repairs. Hybrid Nuke, he's in 3rd place and he's fallen away from the back of Caseley and Hindle, and Caseley has got a lot closer to Hindle now at the start of lap 2. DRS will not be available yet, got to get to the end of this lap and then it will be activated. So a bit of an interesting start there. I personally I'm not surprised that we have a few collisions in the opening lap. It can happen sometimes. It's all now about what the drivers do. And I think it's Hammer Time, who started at the back of the grid. He's already up to 6th as both Mercedes try battling each other through Brooklands and Luffield. And something that It's Hammer Time will know about is that because these drivers qualified on the tyres they're running, they will have to take those tyres a little bit shorter than him because his tyres will be brand new. From a Racing GP, his session is over. A retirement from him.
Oh, that was a lag.
What have you seen there, Ray?
It was a lag spike and it just put GP right into the back of Charlie.
Is it written his car off or was it damage?
It's written his car off. Terminal damage.
Oh dear, oh dear. We saw in qualifying Charlie's car was jumping about a little bit, and by the sounds of it, it's happened again while Formula Racing GP was behind him, and it has caused terminal damage. That will not have pleased him in any way, shape or form. It wouldn't please any driver. But start of lap 3, Hindle still leading, Caseley 2nd, Hybrid Nuke in 3rd, beginning to close in that gap, and Acorn 95, he's trying to get in on the action as well, as It's Hammer Time has now got himself up to 5th place. So Tony, what have you got your eyes on the racetrack at the moment?
I'm watching the leaders of the race and it's tight. Caseley is pressuring Hindle all the time here, and okay, now it's a little bit spread out, but it's not gonna be easy win for Hindle if he's gonna win.
Okay,
but we will see. Oh,
it's not going to be easy. Richie Davey has left the session, as has Charlie. I'm not sure if Charlie has had a bit of an incident there or not, but Charlie and Richie Davey now out of the race.
I've been told there's been too much lag, but I don't know if that was disconnections or if they've just left.
Well, we'll keep going for now. I mean, the drivers up at the front, they seem to be doing okay at the moment. Now for 4th place, I think that's Acorn 95. He's got It's Hammer Time closing in on the back of him, and It's Hammer Time has got much fresher tyres. I mean, the thing is, when it comes to connectivity and people complaining about a bit of lag, as we see a bit of visual effect there, is that if drivers are sat there live streaming and watching the live stream, then it is going to affect their connection. It's Hammer Time. He's getting really, really close to Acorn now, who's having to look in his mirrors. They could put him off through the first sector. Are they getting any closer up at the front there, Tony?
Yeah, no, well, they're driving clean and close to each other, but no overtakes.
It could be a situation where for some of the drivers they just don't want to attack too much, because if they do, they're going to take way too much out of their tyres, and if they have to pit on lap 5 or 6, it could compromise their whole race, because if their first set of tyres only get them to lap 6, they're probably going to have to do a 3-stop race. But It's Hammer Time really closing in now on the back of Acorn 95. DRS will be available when they get through Maggots and Beckett's, and he may be close enough to really have a go at him. With the better tyres, he should be able to cope.
My cameraman's got Rickster and Adam close together.
Okay, we'll have a look at those in a moment as It's Hammer Time.
He's going for it, and he's made a move.
He has
leading the race now.
He has, you're right there, but Hindle, he's coming back at him. He's not going to give it up easy as they make their way into the final chicane. Hindle squeezes back through. And let's see, It's Hammer Time did manage to get up to 4th place as well using the DRS. So Casely, he is trying to give Hindle a bit of a fight here as they go into turn 1 side by side. And Andy Russell, his race is over. Both Saubers having damage in the opening lap of the race as these two are battling it out side by side. And the more that these two battle, the easier it's going to be for Hybrid Nuke to potentially catch up. I've got a bit of a dodgy camera angle here, so I can't quite see where Hindle is. He's next to Casely. I think Casely's just snuck into the lead. He has. He's got the inside line into Brooklands. And I tell you what, Hybrid Nuke, he's down in 8th place. He's made a pit stop. He's gone for a very early pit stop. He's now on the prime tyre. That's moved It's Hammer Time up to 3rd and potentially gives him a chance to attack the leaders. It's Hammer Time. He's in a phenomenal position at the moment because fresher tyres, 3rd place, he can 2-stop this race. Now, Tony, if you were one of the leaders and you've spotted that Hybrid Nuke has made a pit stop already, would you make a stop and cover them off, or would you just keep going until your own tyres have given up?
Well, it's tempting to mimic your competitors' tactics, but if you're confident for your own, you should stick for it and just go for it, yeah.
I would agree with you there, and both Casely and Hindle have continued on for an additional lap. What will be interesting to see is whether Hybrid Nuke perhaps switches to maybe a 3-stop strategy, does a short stint on those prime tyres. Now, Ray, you said earlier that I think it was Adam 4600 and Rickster were close together. Rickster is ahead of Adam 4600. As Adam 4600, it says, is in 6th place. I think Dave the Harp, yes, he's just made a pit stop, so he's gone to the prime tyres quite early as well. Hybrid Nuke passes him now, so his tyres are up to temperature. And 69 finds himself in 9th place as Farfper now becomes the latest retirement of the race. And I tell you what, Casely, he's pulling out a lead now on Hindle. Hindle's going to have to be aware that It's Hammer Time is catching him very, very quickly. So Rickster is now up to 5th place and is pulling away from Adam 4600. Acorn 95, he's still going around in 4th place on the option tyres, but I've got a feeling we're going to be seeing some of these leaders possibly into the pits. I think Hindle will be, because he's dropping a lot of time to Casely at the moment. Ray, do we have any additional engineers' comments there? Anything about weather maybe? As Casely has gone for the pit lane, so has Hindle. So both of them into the pits then, and that means that It's Hammer Time is going to take over the lead for the moment. Acorn 95 has continued on.
Nothing from race engineers or anything yet.
Well, if we've got any race engineers out there that have heard about what might be happening with the weather, feel free to let us know. I'm just having a look at Hybrid Nuke as he's coming through the final few corners to see whether he's going to be able to gain any places. I don't think he will. I don't know if you're keeping an eye, Tony, on where Casely and Hindle are, perhaps?
Just exiting the pits here, and Hybrid Nuke got him. Hybrid Nuke is now 4th.
You're right, Hybrid Nuke pitting early. He's been on the prime tyres for 2 or 3 laps now, and he has jumped both Casely and Hindle, but may have to do an additional pit stop a little later on in the race. So Casely's back into being in a Williams sandwich, and I tell you what, if rain was going to fall, now would be an interesting time for it to happen, but the skies are looking fairly clear at the moment. So as these three make their way through towards Maggotts and Beckett's, we'll see where Dave the Harp is. Dave the Harp's down in 7th place, but it's hammer time. He's leading the race and he's going for the pits. So even though he started on a brand new set of tyres, he's only gone for 7 laps on those particular tyres. Acorn 95 follows him in. And Adam 4600, who is in 3rd place, but I think will be making a pit stop because he's running on the prime tyres at the moment. So I think he may make a stop fairly soon, but not yet. He's continuing on. Casely still in the Ferrari sandwich, running the prime tyre, same as Hybrid Nuke, but Casely looking the faster of the drivers. Tony, if you want to try and take us what might be going through Casely's mind at the moment, leading the race and now down in 3rd with Hybrid Nuke ahead of him.
He knows he has to battle hard here and do 110% for if he wants to win this race. He has fast competitors here and he knows it, but he was in a pole, so I think he's still confident that he can win this race.
It will have given him a lot of confidence that he did get pole position, and I mean, I think he will be feeling confident now. He looks like he's got better speed than Hybrid Nuke at the moment. It's an interesting one, this, because Hindle might be sat there saying to his teammate, fight him hard, let me catch up. But if Hybrid Nuke does that, then he's going to come under attack from Hindle himself. And I tell you what, it's hammer time. He also came out the pits behind these three. He's just entering Maggotts and Beckett's now. And Hybrid Nuke, he's catching Adam 4600, so we're about to have a bit of a 4-way battle up the Hanger Straight. Casely's got DRS, he's looking for the move up the inside. Hybrid Nuke showing the inside line, but may be able to do a bit of a switchback. Got to be careful of that car ahead in case they're going for the pit lane, which he isn't. He's continuing on for another lap, so it is going to be a 4-way battle as Adam 4600 is now leading the race on his prime tyres. And this will have surprised these guys. They'll be thinking, how is he leading? But Casely, up the inside, down the start, finish straight, gets him dispatched nice and early and needed to. That could give him a little bit of a buffer, as now Adam 4600 is going to have to be aware of both of the Williams behind him who are on better rubber. Hybrid Nuke trying to sneak past around the outside. Oh, a little bit of contact. That's going to allow Hindle to sneak through. Hybrid Nuke won't be happy about that one. Hindle will. He'll have loved that. And Hybrid now trying to go around the outside. He's managed to do so. But it's hammer time. He's the next one up. So it's all getting a bit bumpy up at the lead. But that, I think, has benefited Casely more than anybody else. Well, very interesting bit of the race. Go on, Ray, what have you got for us?
Hindle paid Adam to do that.
He quite possibly did. Now it's hammer time. He's all over the back of Adam 4600 as well. I can't see what tyres hammer time's on at the moment. It is the prime tyre. So he needs to try and get the most out of these. We've got a bit of a visual effect going on here as well. A bit unfortunate for the drivers, but hopefully they will get through it nice and cleanly. Acorn 95, he can see all the cars ahead. He's running the prime tyre, so he may be able to catch up as they're trying to make their way past Adam 4600. Sorry. Dave the Harp, he's down in 7th place at the moment, running the... I tell you what, there's a few grey clouds over to the right of the screen here.
And guess what? Heavy rain, 15 minutes.
So, heavy rain then in 15 minutes, and you're looking at about a 1 minute 30 lap time, or 1 minute 32 to 33 lap time. So, probably about 10 laps time. This will be important for the drivers because on the prime tyres, they may want to try and stretch it out until that wet weather comes. I mean, what would you do, Tony, if you've put the prime tyre on? They've already done 2 or 3 laps. They're going to struggle to do 12 or 15. Do you stretch them out, or do you think, right, let's put another set of option tyres on, it could benefit me?
I think options would be tempting choice, but it's heavy rain, so it's gonna come fast. So I don't know.
It's a tricky decision to make, especially when you're on the track racing round and you've been told that heavy rain is coming. It's one of those where you think, oh, if these tyres all last, I may as well keep going. If these tyres don't last and I have to pit for another set of slick tyres, then I may as well have pitted much earlier. But if I pit earlier and then those tyres don't last until the rain comes, there was no point me pitting earlier. It can get very, very confusing as you begin to question yourself about what to do with the strategies. Now, having a race engineer...
And then it's what tyres to go onto, because we've seen a surprise yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, in yesterday's race, a few people did go from slick tyres to full wet tyres, and I have had a couple of people ask me why I didn't, and my answer was simple. In Austria, my engineer told me it's going to be heavy rain, a full wet tyre, and it was telling everybody else light rain. So when we came to Silverstone and it told me heavy rain, I was like, yeah, right, okay, I'll believe it when it comes down, I'll put the inters on. Probably should have continued on and gone for the full wet, but the time that I lost, so to speak, by doing the additional pit stop was pulled back by those drivers that stayed on the dries or went to the full wet. There was enough of a time difference there that the extra stop was not really a problem. Okay, K-Slate still leading this race. Hindle in second place. Hybrid Nuke in third, with its hammer time slowly beginning to close that gap up. We have got a four-way battle here for the lead of the race. Acorn 95, he's not too far away, but the clouds really are beginning to close in around the Silverstone circuit.
And we have 9 penalties.
Quite a few penalties on the board already then. Rickster, he's running the prime tyre. He's currently behind Dave the Harp. So Dave in 6th and Rickster in 7th. And I think Rickster will be very frustrated about whatever the collision was on the first lap that saw him go from 3rd place down to 10th. A few retirements from the event already. And I can understand a few drivers if they've got damage and think, oh, great. And not wanting to finish the race. I would always say keep going, because you never know what will happen in situations where if a bit of lag has written your car off, there's not a lot you can do about that.
Battle for third, Hybrid Nuke is being pressured by hammer time.
He is, and Hybrid Nuke, he's been on these tyres for 7 laps now, so these prime tyres will really be beginning to suffer, whereas its hammer time has only been on them for 5 laps. And I tell you what, I reckon we're going to be seeing rain falling within the next lap or two. You know, heavy rain might come in 15, but I think we're going to see light rain coming before that. On this particular part of the circuit, it doesn't look too bad, but as we make our way, I mean, oh, look at that big grey cloud just hovering over the track, waiting to dump its load onto the drivers. Stop your childish giggles. Now, it's hammer time. He's going to be in position for DRS, but what's Hybrid Nuke's straight line speed going to be like? At previous events, he's had a good straight line speed, and it looks like he's got it here as well. So it's hammer time. Can't quite get a move done, and I don't think Hybrid Nuke was close enough to the car ahead to go for any kind of DRS. To have DRS himself. But I think Hybrid Nuke is in that situation now where his tyres are beginning to go off. It looks like it could rain any moment. If he pits and then it rains, he's ruined his race. So he's kind of in that situation where perhaps got to keep on going now. For its hammer time though, still on the fresher rubber, going to get DRS again, so needs a good exit here out to the loop, heading up to Brooklands. But even though Hybrid Nuke's tyres are looking worn, he still seems to have good exit speed, and perhaps a bit of traction control on that car helping. Oh, and its hammer time was very, very deep there. Do you think its hammer time is perhaps getting a little impatient here, Tony, because the cars ahead are pulling away?
Yeah, I think he wants to get the overtake here done and keep focusing for battling for the lead.
I mean, that's the thing. He is still potentially in position to fight for the lead, depending on what happens in the next 13 laps of the race. But he has got to try and get past Hybrid Nuke here. Needs a better exit out of Maggots and Beckett's, but I don't think he's had it. I don't think he's closer than he was before. He's not using his slipstream, which is surprising. He really would benefit from it. We can see Acorn 95 in the background. But yeah, it's Hammer Time. Really would benefit from using the slipstream there. Hindle's into the pits, and so is K-Slay. So the race leader and second place, they're into the pits. They've not been on these prime tyres for very long. I've got a feeling they've decided to pop some option tyres on before the rain really comes. Now, Ray has unfortunately left our chat party, but he should be able to get back into us. But that now puts Hybrid Nuke into the lead, and it's Hammer Time fighting him for the lead of this race. I wouldn't be surprised if Hammer Time goes longer, but are you surprised there, Tony, that Hindle has pitted before Hybrid Nuke when Hybrid Nuke pitted 2 laps before Hindle on the previous round of stops?
Yeah, this is very confusing situation here, and when it's gonna rain and it's gonna come very soon, it's gonna spice up this even more, because if it's gonna be hard in few minutes, then those guys who just change their tires, they have to do it again.
Exactly. So have a look for us and see what tyres K-Slate and Hindle have gone to, as its Hammer Time is all over the back of Hybrid Nuke again through Maggots and Beckett's, but he just can't get close enough on the exit to really attack. But he needs to use the slipstream here, and he is doing. This time he may have a chance. A look up the inside. Yes, he's going for it up into Stowe. So it's Hammer Time takes the lead then. Is Hybrid Nuke going to follow? Oh no, it's Hammer Time's gone wide. He's gone wide and he's given the position back to Hybrid Nuke. All of that hard work just gone out of the window. So we've got a tyre update.
Hindle and KSA is on option tyres.
So those two could catch these leaders very, very quickly. I tell you what to do, keep an eye in that top left corner of what the gap is between them and see if it comes down at a rapid rate of knots, because Hybrid Nuke is going to be struggling on this set of prime tyres. And it's Hammer Time. He's going to be burning his up, I reckon. Oh, rain! The rain! The rain is... I've just seen a big splash of it.
Yes. It's coming.
It is. It's raining. So Hybrid Nuke and it's Hammer Time may have just called this right, but for K-Slay and Hindle, perhaps just called it wrong. Oh dear. If only they'd gone perhaps the extra laps. Oh.
They are catching like 2 seconds per lap, but it's not gonna be enough if they're gonna change their tires soon.
No, you're right. What'll be interesting though is whether these drivers are going to go for intermediate tyres or whether they're going to try and hang it out for the full wets. It'll all depend on how hard the rain falls, and I wouldn't say it's raining heavy at the moment, but it's definitely falling and it could get a lot harder.
Yeah, it's Britain and everything. I believe it can get ugly there very soon when it's raining.
Yeah. Now, Hybrid Nuke and it's Hammer Time, they've both continued on. Acorn 95, I tell you what, he's catching these guys. He's continuing on as well on the prime tyre, and he is catching them. Oh, K-Slate and Hindle battling a bit with Rickster here. Rickster on the prime tyre, and K-Slate and Hindle on the options. And to a degree, they really haven't got much of a choice now, have they? If it's going to go to full wets, they kind of have got to stay out until it gets to the full wet tyre.
Yes, because their strategy now, I think if they are going to intermediates now, it's race over for them.
Yep, quite possibly. Ray, do we have any kind of weather update of whether it is going to stay light rain or whether it is going to go to really heavy?
Sorry, I get kicked from the chat. I've just jumped back in. Rain and 10. That's what I was told. So get the light and then just stream down.
that's the thing. I mean, if it said heavy rain in 10, then yeah, we could have 10 minutes of light rain and then it getting heavy. Casely and Hindle battling it out at the moment for 4th place, but Casely nearly losing the car in these slippy conditions. Side by side now, heading towards Copse Corner. Casely just manages to stay ahead, but the drivers are really going to begin to struggle in these conditions. Oh, a bit of a visual effect.
Yeah, Hybrid Nuke just lost it in a straight line, and each hammer time got a lead back. They are struggling now.
I think that'll be assigned to him to get it into the pits and either put the full wet tyre on as it's hammer time. He's run massively wide. He's going for the pit lane. Yes, so 1st and 2nd place into the pit lane then. Acorn 95. Casely, we can see that he's caught the gap up quite a bit, but it's time for him possibly. No, he's continuing on. Hindle, he's gone for the pit lane though. It's an interesting decision. Now, are they going for intermediates or are they going full wets? Hybrid Nuke, he's on full wets. It's hammer time, he's on full wets. Acorn 95, full wets. Hindle, he's been held in the pits for a double stack and he's on full wets. Comes out just ahead of Rickster, who is pitting for, I would guess, full wet tyres. It is. I think Casely may have made a bit of a mistake there by not pitting at the time he really should have done.
He's struggling very much here. He's struggling.
Dave the Harp, he's gone to intermediate tyres. Adam 4600, he's gone to full wets. Ant 69 on intermediate tyres. He's in a position where he's been lapped, so Ant's gone early for the intermediates, but he's all over the back of Casely, who's on slick tyres, and he could unlap himself. Oh, Casely can't get it round the corner. Oh, and he's off. He's into the gravel. Not a lot Ant 69 could do there as Casely's lost the car on slick tyres, and there goes Hybrid Nuke, and it's hammer time on the full wet tyre. Not a lot that Ant 69 could do there. He was on the outside, on the intermediate tyre, giving the driver plenty of room, and Casely has just ended up sliding out wide. Acorn 95 has now passed him to take 3rd place. So I tell you what's interesting though, I mean, I know me and you talked a little bit about it, Tony, before the race, and you said if a certain things happen I could comment about what a driver says. Do you want to recap what Casely said?
Yeah, he was hoping for the rain, and now it cost him big time for not pitting.
It really has cost him. It's cost him
shot him in the ass.
It has. It's cost him any chance of winning this race. And I tell you what, Hybrid Nuke, he's managed to call it fairly spot on, because he's now leading the race. He and It's Hammer Time pitted at the same time for the full wet tyre, and there is a little bit of a gap between them. But Acorn 95, he said he wanted to get his season back on track. He's potentially in position to do that now. He's up to 3rd place. Hindle though, he's now in 4th, and he's quite a long way back from the leading 3 drivers. Now, Tony, you said if it rains, it could mix things up a little bit, and you know what? You were right. It really has. Yeah. So for the viewers, there's, 8 laps to go. These full wet tyres should last 8 laps, no problem. But we never know. The rain may ease off a bit. It could dry up again, and we may end up having another round of pit stops. Only time will tell.
Yeah, is it just me, or is the sky looking more brighter and sunnier?
You're going to really annoy the drivers if that turns out to be true, but you know what? You could be right. You have to keep an eye on whether the racing line is reappearing. For Casely though, he's gone from being in a position for winning this race to now down to the full wet tyre and in 8th place. Rickster, he's managed to work his way back up to 5th place, and he's Maggots and Beckett's away from Hindle in 4th. Acorn 95, he's in 3rd place. He'll be loving the wet weather at the moment. Go on, Ray, what have you got for us?
From my spy, rain stops in 5 minutes.
Oh, I tell you what, if rain stops in 5 minutes, that's going to be about 2 or 3 laps from the end of the race. That is going to throw another question to these drivers of what are you going to do? I mean, in the World Championship race last night, I know the commentary team were discussing about it looks like it was drying up and the rain was easing off, and it was a case of could you put the intermediate tyres on for the last couple of laps? Would it benefit you? Well, the intermediate tyre would have been the right tyre to be on, but pitting with 2 laps to go could have cost people a lot of places, and it could be very similar for the World Series drivers here today. But it's hammer time. 3.8 seconds off the lead at the moment. Well, I think he and the driver he's in as a reserve for will be pleased with his current position. Charlie JB's left the session, but he did already retire from the race, so that's a late leaving of the session. He's obviously got changed, put on his overalls, his wet weather clothing, and is heading out to perhaps go and watch a bit of the action. Now, do we have anybody?
A fun fact here. Hybrid Nuke is only driver in top 5 who hasn't got any penalties yet.
Oh, so Hybrid Nuke then, he did say he was going to try and keep it clean, and so far he has managed to do so. But obviously results are provisional results until the stewards have done their thing. But yeah, if he's the only one at the moment in the top 5 who hasn't received a penalty, he'll be feeling very, very comfortable. Whereas it's hammer time, Acorn 95, they may know that drivers around them have got penalties, but they may not know how much. Okay, Hindle, he's currently 14 seconds off the lead. He's going to be disappointed about that. He was held up in the pits though, which would have cost him quite a lot of time with a bit of a double stack. And where's Rickster? Rickster's 21 seconds off the lead, so another 6 or 7 seconds behind Hindle. Adam 4600 is got a battle on his hands now, because Casely in 7th place is all over the back of him. And I tell you what, Casely, he must be absolutely kicking himself at the moment with continuing on for that extra lap. I mean, it may have paid off without a little bit of a collision, but to be fair, once they had that collision and you could see how close the cars were behind him, he was going to lose out massively anyway. So for a driver that really wanted it to rain, he will be wishing that now it hadn't, or that he had just gone and put on a set of the wet tyres a lap earlier. He's still... Go on, right.
Too wet. I think it's too wet to dry up in 5 laps. I think they'll end on these tyres.
I tell you what, I would agree with you, and confirmation of that would probably be that Dave the Heart pitted for intermediate tyres. He's pitted again and put a set of full wet tyres on. Ant 69, he was also on intermediate tyres. He's on the full wet tyre. So those guys that did put the intermediates on, they've scrapped them. They've got rid of them. Realised it's not the right tyre to be on. And I tell you what, I thought for a moment then that Casely had perhaps had a bit of a moment somewhere. He has dropped off the back of Adam 4600.
He did. His back end kicked out just before the start-finish strip.
Yep, that will have compromised him a bit, but he is looking racy, but in these conditions it's not easy. I mean, it's not, you can quite easily catch someone, but it's not easy to overtake them. And I tell you what, it sounds more like I can hear thunder, you know, rather than having sunny weather coming over. So the rain could get worse. Casely, sorry.
Did you fart?
No, it wasn't me. It might have been Tony. Casely manages to get himself up to 6th place. Now he needs to try and crack on, see if he's got any chance of gaining any more positions. But there's about a 20-second gap between Rickster and himself. Hindle, he can't do anything about the gap between himself and the leader. It's still 14.5 seconds. Acorn 95 is still there in 3rd place at the moment, 7 seconds off the leader. It's hammer time. He's lost time to the leader. He's now nearly 6 seconds behind, so perhaps the wet conditions not really favouring him. He did say, in addition to his pre-race comments, that with having the qualifying ban, he would want it to either qualify dry and the race start dry, or qualify wet and the race start wet, so he gets the benefit of the fresher tyre. He had the benefit of the fresher tyre, but since the rain has begun to fall, he has struggled to really take the fight to Hybrid Nuke, who, when the rain's come down, has come across as the more dominant driver at the moment. I mean, Tony, how would you try and put across what he did with calling the pit stops and the position he's in now?
Excuse me, can you say that again?
Yeah. How do you explain Hybrid Nuke's race so far? Pitting early and then going very long and now being dominant in the wet.
Yeah, his strategy has been perfect so far, and he has been clean. No, he hasn't got any penalties, so he's feeling it. He's enjoying himself. I think it's 5 seconds gap to its hammer time, but I believe Hybrid Nuke is very confident about himself here.
I would agree with you, and it sounds like you need to get yourself a drink or a cough sweet. But yeah, I mean, Hybrid Nuke is looking very comfortable in these conditions. And you know what? I'm not going to say it looks like it's getting drier, but it almost looks like there's a bit of a shine to the racetrack. And I don't just mean because it's wet, I mean because it looks like the level of sunlight is perhaps raising a little bit. So for the last 4 laps of the race, we could possibly see the circuit dry up a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough to really make much of a difference to the standings at the moment. Well, it's hammer time. He's got Acorn 95 closing in on him, and he could be finding himself in a situation at the moment where if he's pushing, he's getting penalties. So he's backed off a bit to not get the penalties, but now he's getting caught. So now he's got to up his pace a little bit, and now he's trying to up his pace. The car's not really handling it, whereas Acorn 95 is just driving around at the moment and catching him up. So have we got anything cracking on? Hindle, he's finally managed to find a bit of lap time. And I tell you what, he's starting to close in on Acorn, and it's hammer time. There's not a very big gap. There was 6 seconds, but Acorn's just had a moment wide. If Hindle can really start pumping in some lap times, he may be able to get in on this battle. We've just seen Acorn go through the screen, and there's Hindle. Rickster, he's in 5th place at the moment, going around Luffield Corner, and K-Slay, he's quite far back. He's not going to be able to do anything about that at the moment.
Pit crew engineer says intermediates are the tyre to be on. Will the drivers do it?
Oh, you know what?
Different question.
Go on, Tony. Answer that one for us.
What was that?
The drivers' engineers are telling them that the intermediate tyre is the tyre to be on now.
Oh, this could be interesting if someone is going to do that, because it's only 3 laps to go, and full wet is going to warm up pretty fast if the condition isn't optimal. So I don't know. This is going to be interesting. And let's talk about K-Slay. He was leading the race. Now he messed up his strategy, and he's back to 6th place. But his gap to Rickster is about 20 seconds. But Rickster has nearly 20 seconds worth of penalties for corner cutting and ETL. So K-Slay could get 5th place.
He could. You know what? I think if I'd have been K-Slay, with the way that this race has gone, if he's been told by his engineer it could be time for intermediate tyres, I may have gambled it, you know. Because as you mentioned, in these full wet tyres, they will work really, really well in full wet conditions. But if it's an intermediate tyre condition, these full wet tyres will burn out. So, okay, he's not going to pull back a minute, but if it worked, he may have been able to pull back 20, 30, maybe even 40 seconds. I thought for a moment Acorn was chucking his car into the pits, but he isn't doing. The gap between himself and It's Hammer Time has opened up now. And Hybrid Nuke, he has really, really dominated in these wet conditions. Hindle has closed in on the leader a little bit, and he is getting closer and closer to Acorn. And, I mean, you said, Tony, that I think at least second, third, fourth and fifth have got penalties. So Hindle, Acorn and It's Hammer Time have got penalties. So their order could completely change around. So for Hindle, it could be a case of, I just need to get as close as I can and hope that I've got less penalties than he has and I end up ahead of him. But something I didn't do before the race was actually go through the Drivers' Championship standings at this point. So I will do now, as we've got a lap and a bit to go. Hindle is leading the standings on 144 points. His teammate has got 131. So there's a 13-point gap between them. If they finish first and fourth, that gap's going to disappear. From a Racing GP, he's in third place, but he's going to score no points from this event. And then we've got Dave the Harp in fifth, Acorn 95 in... Sorry, Dave the Harp in fourth, Acorn 95 in fifth. They're not going to be swapping places, I don't think. Richie Davey, he may get jumped. He will get jumped by Rickster. And then Kay Slay is in eighth, and he could gain a few places. Actually, it depends. If he finishes ahead of Rickster, he could gain places. So, for the lead of the driver's standings, if Hybrid Nuke goes on to win this race and Hindle finishes fourth, the leader could change. So, Hybrid Nuke starting the final lap of the race then. So, are you going to try and commentators curse him, Tony? Let's see what magic you can work.
I think I'm leaving him alone.
He has been very...
I have done enough here.
That is true. I mean, Hybrid has been very, very good here in Silverstone. An interesting, very early pit stop, but he... Oh, It's Hammer Time. He's struggling. I tell you what, I think Ray was right, you know. It is definitely an intermediate track condition now. So these drivers on the full wet tyres, they are really beginning to struggle. So even though we're on the final lap of the race, we may see some positions change. Nobody has... Oh, Dave the Harp, sorry, has gone for the intermediate tyre, and so has Ant69. And Ant69 is right behind Hindle and may actually get past him. Go on, Ray, what have you got for us?
And remember, K-Slide pitted last, so will his tyres be better when it's a wee bit drier?
His tyres should handle it a bit better in the final stages, but the leader's already gone through Maggots and Beckett's. He's making his way up the Hanger Straight, so unless he has an absolute mare up here that's going to cost him a good 5 or 6 seconds, he's going to be safe. It's Hammer Time's in second place at the moment, so Hybrid Nuke then, he's only got 3 corners to go, and he'll be absolutely delighted with how this race has gone, or at least how this race has ended. So round the final corner he goes then. The Silverstone crowd don't quite go wild because they're all soaking wet, but across the line Hybrid Nuke goes to take victory in Silverstone. It's Hammer Time takes second place, Acorn 95 in third, but these may change, and Hindle did close the gap up to quite close in the end. Fourth place across the line for him. Rickster, he's sitting in fifth at the moment, but these positions could all change when we have a look at the timing screen in a few moments' time. I mean, very difficult conditions for the drivers now as Rickster's sliding it around the final corner across the line in fifth. K-Slay riding in at sixth place at the moment. You know he is going to be absolutely devastated. Adam 4600, he's in at 7th, so he's finishing ahead of his teammate, but perhaps will have wanted a better race here. I'm sure a few of the drivers that have ended up out of the race from damage will not be overly happy, but not a lot we can do about that. That's where reporting items to the race directors That's why it's available to them. And for drivers, if they have had an enormous amount of lag that has caused the collision, they can still be held accountable for it. Dave the Harp, he's going to cross the line in 8th place on the intermediate tyre and was actually closing in on Adam 4600 there. Okay, time to have a look then at the podium, and it's probably going to change from what we had. Let's see. It has. So Hybrid Nuke takes the victory. It's Hammer Time second place, and Hindle has snuck through to take the final podium position. So Acorn 95 through in-game penalties has ended up down in at least 4th place. But we'll have a look in a few moments' time of exactly how much penalties the drivers did receive. So as they finish spraying their champagne, they can have a little hug, a whisper in each other's ear of well done or you were lucky. And we can see the Hybrid Nuke did take the victory. It's Hammer Time had quite a lot of penalties there, but so did Hindle, so that's benefited It's Hammer Time. Acorn 95, in the end he only loses out by about half a second. Rickster does stay 5th with a number of penalties. K-Slay in 6th, also with a few penalties. Adam 4600 didn't get any. Dave the Harp didn't get any. Ant and Farfba did, but Farfba did not finish. Well, an interesting race there. Perhaps not as much action as I was hoping for, but some very interesting twists and turns in that race. So, Tony, how'd you go about summing that one up?
Yeah, we had 14 drivers, I believe, in a start, and 8 finished the race, and there was rain, collisions, and battles, so I think it was overall a pretty exciting race, and for Hybrid Nuke it was perfect drive for him. It
was. Okay, I believe I'm going to suggest, Tony, you'll have to invite the driver. Oh, have you done it? Right, okay, Tony, if you can go to the chat party and click on invite, you'll have the option to invite suggested, and then you'll be able to invite Hybrid Nuke, Hindle, and It's Hammer Time into the chat party for the podium interviews. And this is... Thank you very much. And this is a point where, for the viewers, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, or you'd like us to ask the drivers, feel free to comment on the YouTube chat now. And if we're able to see them and ask them, we will do, but we'll see how we get on. So as we hang on a moment then for the drivers to join us for the podium interviews, I'm sure they'll be grabbing a drink, having a quick chat between themselves. But Hindle has joined us, as has Hybrid Nuke. So we'll just wait for It's Hammer Time to come and join us as well. But guys, if you can make sure that you've got your microphone set to always allow and your microphone turned up nice and loud so that we can hear you. And we'll get on to the questions in a few moments' time when It's Hammer Time does join us in for the podium interviews. But it was an interesting race there. Not an easy one for the drivers, I don't think. It never is when changeable conditions come into effect. Now, for any of the drivers that didn't make it to the end of the race, if Ray's still willing to do so, they can send him a short message giving their after-race comments, and we can come to those once we have completed the post-race interviews here. Now, I can't say I've seen It's Hammer Time join us just yet, so we'll move on to... our race winner, Hybrid Nuke.
Hello.
Hello. And Tony, go on, ask him some questions.
Yes, Hybrid Nuke, you were the only driver in the top 6 without penalties. So, on the scale of happy and crack open the beer happy, how happy are you for the result?
I think it's crack open a few beers for that one, mate.
Fantastic.
I'll tell you what, Tony, I proper stitched you up then, and you dealt with it brilliantly. Racing, I'll help you, cracks one open. Yeah, I tried stitching Tony up by dropping the podium interviews on him, and he's prepared. Go on then, carry on, Tony. Next question to him.
For the Hybrid Nuke as well, you didn't get any penalties, so Silverstone is pretty hard track for not get any penalties. So was it hard for you for drive very clean?
Well, to be honest, Silverstone as a track itself has not been my favourite. I remember in 2014 you'd always hit that barrier going into Cop, so it's always been a bit of a nemesis for me. But as for the penalty side, I'm more happy not to get a penalty than the win. I mean, the win is excellent in all its everything that consists of that, but not to get a penalty around that track that I've been struggling around all week is brilliant.
Well, interesting that. I tell you what, here's a question from me for you. If the result stands as it was between yourself and your teammate, I think that might close the gap to within a couple of points.
It does.
So, crucial or not?
Very. Very. I mean, I've been hoping for that since Monaco. Monaco, I was going, right, I need to win this. Damn it, I didn't. Okay. Canada, I need to win this. Damn it, I didn't. Austria, damn it.
Okay.
So it's nice to get some
Okay, one more question from me for you. You pitted very, very early. I think it was the end of lap 5, or even the end of lap 6. Were you concerned or even surprised at the amount of undercut you actually got on those prime tyres?
Well, I had to pit due to how many laps I did in quali, which went atrocious. But once Hinder didn't pit the next lap, I went, oh, okay, here we go, that's another couple of seconds. And then, so, answer to your question, no, not really.
Fair enough. And was it always a decision to go from slick tyre to the full wet?
Yeah, as soon as it says heavy, I mean, other people say inters, I'll always go down the wet side. And it paid off.
That it did. Okay, has It's Hammer Time joined us in the podium interviews yet?
Not yet, no.
Not yet. Okay, it's Hammer Time. If you're watching the live stream, get your arse into the podium interviews. But we'll move on. Arse is not swearing. Only if you add a hole onto the end of it. Okay, Tony, have you got any questions for Hindle, our third place finisher?
Yes, you were pretty fast, and I think you were pretty happy for your drive before the wet conditions. So describe your tire strategy before and after the rain. Was it going for how you wanted?
Well, like I had to pit earlier, and I would have wanted to because I did 2 laps in quali. First stint was alright, second stint was better than the first, and I made the worst mistake ever because I pitted again because my Mr. Jeff says 10 minutes until rain, so I think, right, put the options on, get about 8 laps out of them, should be time for it, put inters on, all wets, put the dries on, go around once, go past the start finish line, and it starts raining. So there I've just lost a pit stop to all the people who's behind me.
Yeah.
But to come home in P3 after all of that, losing 30 odd seconds, I'm satisfied.
Well, the upside to your pit stop was that K-Slade did the same. I mean, we were kind of surprised that you'd done it, but could understand why you'd done it if the rain didn't turn up, but the rain did turn up. Did you lose much time with the double stack in the pits?
About a second, 2 seconds.
Not too much then. Any more questions for him, Tony?
Sorry, no, I don't.
Oh, you're not as prepared as we thought you were. I'll tell you what, Hindle. When it did get wet, right, you seemed to... I know you'd lost the pit stop, but you were quite far off Hybrid Nuke, It's Hammer Time, Acorn, and it didn't look like you could really close that gap in at all. Obviously, K-Slade, he's had his own problem, that kind of gifted a position. but it wasn't until sort of 3-4 laps to the end that you were really able to close that gap in. So what changed from being on the full wet at the straightaway to those last few laps of the race?
Frustration, I think. I mean, the first few laps when I put full wets on, I was just thinking, why did I pit for dry tyres? Why have I done that? And I just wasn't focusing at all. And Ivory said, listen, just focus and you'll get him. And towards the end, I think I was closing like a second a lap. So if I'd have done that, personally, I think if I'd have stayed out, because what's more annoying is my tyres could have gone so much more longer.
Yeah.
But I pitted for dries. If I'd have stayed out, I reckon I'd have won that race.
Yeah, I can understand your frustration there. Okay, Ray, have we got any questions from the viewers for these two guys, seeing as it's Hammer Time hasn't joined us yet?
He's just resetting his PS4. Razor, I've suggested him again, if you could invite him again.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions then, Ray?
Handle, did you pit because Casely pitted?
Ooh.
That it kind of dragged me with him. I wanted to pit, but I didn't want to pit. And I seen him pit, and I thought, I looked at the weather. It was so dark in sector 2, I think. Well, either way, one of the sectors was still quite light, so I thought, maybe the rain's not going to come for a few more laps. I thought, if I can get 7 or 8 laps out of the option, I'll be alright. But,
So in short, you followed him in, yeah.
That's alright, it worked for Ferrari, that's what they wanted.
It turned out so well, did it?
He did.
I was behind him going, right, I'm going to pit this lap. And then he goes, right, I pitted. And I went, hold on. No!
Well, okay, Ray.
Hammer Time's still struggling to get in. He's saying he's getting no invites.
Have you recommended the right person, Ray? You do get confused between Mr. Hammer Time 44 and it's Mr. Hamilton 44 and it's Hammer Time 44. You want to listen
It's
to
Hammer Time 44.
You want to listen to the commentary in qualifying. That was confusing. Okay, I will quickly suggest it's Hammer Time. We'll give him one last try, and if not, I'll make up an interview for him.
I have spammed Israelites.
I think that was that you've spammed him. Yeah.
I sent a few.
A few, that means he's got loads. I tell you what, I bet what it is, he'll be looking at the notifications going, well, these say yesterday. Yeah, click on those ones. And for anyone that hasn't worked it out yet, it says yesterday because of the leap year. Okay, Ray, we've got any other questions for the leading, well, for first and third place here?
It was just, what are the podium drivers' view on the race start?
Oh, one word, laggy.
Yeah, very laggy.
That was a bit tricky at the beginning there.
Yeah, we didn't get to fully see it, but we did hear a few drivers did have a few problems with lag at the start. A couple of drivers did seem to have cars moving about in qualifying as well.
There's a bit on the straight where I was up behind Casely, and then suddenly, he's basically riding my wing.
Well, you know what they say, Ferraris give you wings.
As long as they're riding something else.
Raymond, behave yourself. Right, okay. Time to bring the interviews with Hybrid Nuke and Hindle to a close. So well done to you guys. Hungary is up next. It's not going to be an easy one. So you guys can make your way away from the podium interviews, and that'll allow myself, Ray and Tony to have a little bit of a chat, see if it's Hammer Time can actually get himself organised. So Ray, have we got any post-race comments from any of the drivers?
No, just GP just confirmed that who was it? It was Charlie who lagged back into him, and that's why his race ended.
Yeah. I mean,
A couple other drivers were complaining about the lag, but it wasn't a mass disconnection, so there was nothing we could do about it.
no. I mean, the thing is, we do try and do everything we can to aid connection where possible, and we do give advice to drivers on how to try and improve their connection. Ethernet cables being one of them. It can make an absolutely massive difference. I mean, it's Hammer Time can confirm that. You watch some of the F1 Rideys events from a few weeks ago, and his car was jumping all over the place. He got himself an Ethernet cable, and it improved it hugely. And we would always advise the drivers that if they are live streaming themselves and watching the broadcast, not to do that, because you're taking up internet bandwidth, and it can affect your own connection. One way to know if your connection is struggling a little bit is if the quality of your stream is kind of 1980s computer game quality, your internet's running a little bit weak. Okay, right.
And remember, folks, you can still double tap.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't.
And save your footage.
Exactly. You don't have to live stream. I mean, I have been having a bit of a chat with a couple of the admins, in that, I mean, before this season started, we recommended saying, look, okay, you've all got to record your event, and you can do it in these ways. There's 6 different ways you can record your event. You can live stream it, you can double tap share, you can record it with a phone, a digital camera, a HD PVR, and really there's only one that could potentially affect your connection, and that's the live stream. So I think for the future we were discussing, right, we will recommend that drivers double tap share to record, because that will have no effect on your own connection. And if when a driver watches their footage back and the quality is poor, then it is definitely recommended that they don't live stream, they double tap share. It does mean that they have to upload the footage, but at least you'll be able to see it in really good quality. Okay, final thoughts then on that race from you. Hold on.
I'm just letting Hammer Time know it might have been from yesterday that he got the invite. And he's writing a comment on the live stream now. He had a good race but struggled in a full wets, but got an illegal overtake on Casely for no reason.
I wonder if that may have been when Casely and Ant69 perhaps had their little bit of a moment off the track. And for the drivers that didn't see it, when they go back and watch that, they'll probably laugh at Casely. It's unfortunate, but yeah, quite funny as well. So sorry, Casely, for that one. Okay, final thoughts then, Tony, on that race there.
That was a fantastic race. Plenty of action, and I got the rain. Important thing.
Well, you do. From what I've worked out, you like it wet, and wet is what you got. Okay, Ray, your final thoughts on the race there.
Yeah, that was a great race. Shame about the drivers that had left the race, but it was great.
Yep, what we had on track was good, and I found it very interesting and could mix up the standings quite a bit. So well done to all of the drivers that took part there and got to the end. Unfortunate to commiserations really to those who did not make it to the end. Next up on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel will be tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. for the F1 Rideys Cup. That's the feeder series into our F1 leagues. So if anyone is interested in joining our F1 leagues, get in touch with the Front Row Racing Facebook page and you can get in onto the F1 Rideys Cup events. So that'll be tomorrow night 7:30 p.m. for a 25% race around the Hungaro. Excuse me, I've got a bit of wind around the Hungaro ring. I tell you what, it's Steve's tongue twister at the start. It's ruined my speech for the whole race. And then after that tomorrow night will be 9 p.m. for the PCF, the final round of the PCF season on Project Cars. There's a title battle between two drivers, 15 points between them, a maximum 25 points can be scored. So that'll be at 9 o'clock for 10 laps around the Cirque de la Sarthe Le Mans track. Okay, I've been Dave Lays in Beds. Thank you very much to Tony Pinkham Oinanen for joining us on the commentary.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And thank you very much to Rachel Ray Jordan Brooks, that one's a bit long, for helping us out in the pit lane there. So thank you very much to you, Ray.
No, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Next time, don't put up so much of a fight. It makes it easier. Anyway, you made it dirty, Ray. You made it dirty earlier. Okay, that's all from us this evening, folks.
I was just...
Don't try explaining it now. Don't try.
You've got to play with them.
Hey, I actually never mentioned about you and your banana hammock on the beach today on the broadcast. I should have done. So for anyone that's watching this bit, Ray's been down the beach today. Speedos, banana hammock, you know what I'm on about. Handkerchief on his head. Sunning it up on the beach. Anyway, moving from our racing.
It's minus 15.
Yeah, minus 50. Oh dear.
I had camel toe.
Oh, Ray. The thing, do you know the worst thing about that? I just had this vision in my head of Rabsy Nesbitt, right, wearing a banana hammock and now with a camel toe. So thank you very much for that beautiful image. That's going to... I'm probably not going to eat for the rest of tonight, so thank you very much for that one. I was going to have a Cornish pasty, but I think the shape of it is just going to put me off. Right, okay, that's it. I'm bringing this to an end, you filthy boys. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We've been Front Row Racing, and we'll see you all again soon.